I recently came across something that really pissed me off. And I know when talking about WWE, that could be any and everything. But even more particular, this scenario, because it involves two of the brightest minds in the business, Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt. And it perturbs me even more to another level because it's something that we all knew was happening behind the scenes, but until you actually hear it from one of the individuals involved, only then does it begin to take on a life of its own. Only then does it become all too real. Matt Hardy recently spoke candidly on why he felt that he and Bray Wyatt were shelved around the time of their feud, when it could have been something immaculate. One of the coolest things we've seen in pro wrestling in years. It seemed like Vince just didn't give a shit about it. And if it seemed that way, it's because he didn't. Matt Hardy said, and I quote, about him and Bray Wyatt, their feud, that time, what was happening behind the scenes, why they were shelved. Matt Hardy says, and I quote, I think the reason Bray and I were pulled off TV at that time was they were tired of us suggesting ideas and how to use the Hardy compound, and we shouldn't be wrestling all the time. I think that whole scenario could have been so much more if we were able to get people to listen to our ideas. What have we been saying for years? The 3 years that I've had this channel, just over 3 years now, what have we been talking about? How the booking has been absolutely atrocious. How any creativity has been terrible to non-existent. How it seems like a lot of the roster is just showing up to collect a paycheck because they know their ideas don't mean shit. At this point, why even try to fight the beast? That is the old man in Stamford, Connecticut. So they're showing up, doing what they're told, collecting their paycheck. And it's showing. It's coming across our TV screens. Nobody's jumping off the TV screen and captivating us. But Bray Wyatt. Broken Matt Hardy. You have two dudes that actually want to give you ideas. You have two dudes that are uber creative. Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy want to help out. They want to do cool things for themselves, their characters, and for all of us. They want to make the program better. They're giving you their ideas, man. And the old man in Stamford, Connecticut is vetoing because he thinks his 614 Hollywood writers that have no idea what a wrist lock from a headlock truly is in pro wrestling. But they're the ones writing the shows. Bray Wyatt, Matt Hardy. What do they know? Oh, you have ideas? That's cute. That's adorable. Let me pinch your cheeks and put you into the corner for a little bit. We'll get back to you. We'll call you. You're adorable! You have ideas! How cute are you with your ideas? Write them down on some suggestion sheets, and maybe we'll go over them in the future, kid. Nobody calls him back. And in fact, they put him on the shelf. You guys remember that? We all knew what was going on behind the scenes, but until you actually hear it firsthand, man, does it add another layer of annoyance. Man, does it frustrate me to no end. To know that we could have gotten better over the past several years. We could have. You had wrestlers that wanted to help out that wanted to give you their ideas. And instead they were vetoed, and we were giving absolute trash week after week, month after month, year after year. Two dudes that clearly understand the business. You have Matt Hardy, who captivated everybody with the Hardy Boys. Then he took off. He went to TNA Impact, a small blimp in the wrestling world, and he became the talk of the wrestling world for an amount of time. He created a character, Broken Matt Hardy, that was the talk of the town. Then he came back to WWE, reformed the Hardy Boys, and they were again the biggest thing since sliced bread. Vince did everything he could to keep him off TV, and recently he became the talk of the town again with his feud with Randy Orton. But it wasn't supposed to be a feud. This was only supposed to make Matt Hardy look like a chump and write him off TV. All it really did was make Matt Hardy talked about. It gave him momentum. Because when you give somebody like Matt Hardy the chance, TV time, he's gonna captivate. He has shown you time and time again with several different characters. Bray Wyatt, you guys remember Husky Harris? He turned that in to Bray Wyatt. And even when Vince did everything under his power to try to shelf Bray Wyatt, to make Bray Wyatt a chump, Bray Wyatt turns into the Fiend. Bray Wyatt took the Bray Wyatt character and he upped the ante. He amplified the Bray Wyatt character to the Fiend. They keep trying to outdo their own selves. Every single time McMahon tries to shelve them or put them into obscurity, they come back better than ever. And you ain't gonna take ideas from them? In fact, Matt Hardy says, I think we were pulled off TV at that time because they were tired of us suggesting ideas. What company do you know of, if you work for them and you're trying to help them, you're trying to give them ideas, you're trying to be creative, you're trying to show them that you care? Only in that company can that be a bad thing. Oh, you actually care about what you're doing? You have ideas? You're getting creative? You're showing you give a damn? Go home! You're fired! Only Vince McMahon cannot like that. Only WWE can punish you for having ideas. I can't fathom that. I can't. And I saw it unfolding. We talked about it on this channel. For you veteran subscribers who have been here since day one, we talked about it so many times. Got amplified too many times. But to hear it from Matt Hardy, man, you just think about what they were going through when they really wanted to make this the biggest thing in pro wrestling, when they really cared. They gave a shit and they were told to go home. They were told no. This wouldn't work. This is stupid. That sucks. Do what my Hollywood writers tell you to do. And then you wonder why ratings are down, merchandise isn't selling, asses aren't showing up to the seats, they have to cancel house shows because nobody's showing up. You wonder why. Could it be the negative guy on YouTube? BC is just too negative and he's ruining pro wrestling. Is it me that's ruining pro wrestling? Or is it the lack of care by the owner of one of, if not the biggest wrestling promotion on the planet? Maybe it's not BC. Maybe it's the old man in Stamford, Connecticut. Maybe it's the structure or lack thereof in that company today. Instead of creativity from Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt, we get 6-man tags and 8-man schmazzes every single week. I got a question for you. This is a real honest question. How many 6-man tags and 8-man schmazzes do we need to see every week? Every week we're getting one. At least a 6-man or an 8-man. And we all know, a 6-man and an 8-man means that no care, no thought was put into it creatively. It is what we call lazy booking in the business. It's when they don't have any ideas, or they just don't have the time, or they don't want to put in the effort to the show. So they just throw multiple bodies into the ring. We see it all the time. All the time. And how many times do we need to see it? Because if they're not putting in any care, if they don't care at all, if they're not putting any effort into it, then we're not going to at home. Right? That's going to translate through our screens. We see what's going on. Everybody's being thrusted into the ring. We might get action for 10 or 15 minutes. But what's it leading to? Nothing. 6-man tags and 8-man tags are meaningless. It's too many bodies. Nothing can really develop from them. It's lazy booking. You guys know, if you're a veteran of this channel, one of the biggest things, if not the biggest thing I hate the most, is schmaz matches. Every time I see 6 men out there, or 8 men, I know it's going to be turned in to a schmaz match. And I roll my eyes to the back of my dome piece, and I just want to put my dome piece through every cement wall in New York City that I can possibly come across. You don't believe me, but I got the facts, guys. Let's just go to just this year, right? Just 3 months. January, February, it's not even... March isn't even completed. It's the beginning of March. But let me just take you back to the first Raw of the year. January 6th. 6-man tag. Rollins and AOP versus Joe, Owens, and Big Show. 6-man tag. The very next week, January 13th. Very next week, very same main event. Same exact match. Rollins and AOP versus Joe, Owens, and Big Show. 2 weeks in a row, same exact 6-man tag. The following week, it's SmackDown's turn. Raw handed the baton over to SmackDown. So, on January 24th, you had Rude, Ziggler, and Corbin versus Usos and Roman. And then the very next week, January 31st on SmackDown, the same exact 6-man tag. Roman and the Usos versus Rude, Ziggler, and Corbin. So what Raw did at the beginning of January, same exact 6-man tag 2 weeks in a row. Then SmackDown did the same exact thing on their show the end of January. Now that ended January's 6-man schmaz fest, but not to worry because February didn't miss a beat. February 3rd, Raw, 6-man tag, Owens and the Raiders versus Buddy Murphy and AOP. The very next week, 8-man schmaz. Raiders, Joe, and Owens versus Architects of Pain. Very next week, February 17th, 6-man tag, Owens and Raiders versus Murphy and AOP. This all sounding familiar? Not only are we getting 6-man tags and 8-mans, but it's all the same people. Now, on that February 17th edition of Raw, when we got that 6-man tag, SmackDown that same week said, "Hold my beer." SmackDown produced their own 8-man schmaz. Usos and New Day versus Miz, Morrison, Rude, and Ziggler. Even on the following Raw, when it was just one-on-one Orton and Owens, for some odd reason, the Street Profits, Viking Raiders, AOP, they were all out there battling around ringside. Vince could not help himself. He said, throw everybody out there. Of course, it's the beginning of March, but we've already seen every single tag team in SmackDown have a gauntlet match last week. Last night on Raw, we saw another 8-man schmaz. Street Profits, Raiders, and Architects of Pain. Gave you guys the facts. Doesn't seem it, right? Sometimes you just want to say, oh, BC, you're over-exaggerating. Right? You're over-exaggerating, BC. It's not that bad. Until, you guys should know by now, I do my research and I have facts for you. I'm not one of these channels in the community that just starts yelling and spewing my opinions. And thinks I'm always right. There's enough of those people in this community. I actually bring facts. Every single week, at least on one of the shows, sometimes even on both shows, you're getting at least a 6-man tag or an 8-man tag. Every single week. And that's lazy booking, that's lack of care, and that's zero creativity. It leads to meaninglessness. But we get it every single week. And last night, when you thought you saw the main event was Alistair Black and Seth Rollins, and you're like, wow, that's a pay-per-view main event. But if they're going to give these dudes 40 minutes, this could be one of the best main events that Raw has ever seen, wrestling-wise. Because there was like almost 40 minutes left, and we're like, no way, what? So, what ends up happening, guys, is that within just a few minutes, and we saw this happening, but we were hoping it wasn't going to happen. Within just a few minutes, AOP's involved, Murphy, Street Profits come down, Raiders come down, and we have an 8-man schmaz. So what could have been an ultimate main event for Raw. And then at the end of it, something happens to Black that sets up Black's WrestleMania opponent. But that would take too much creativity. That would actually take thought. So I know I'm getting ahead of myself. But what we thought could have been such an awesome main event and something really cool at the end turned into an 8-man schmaz for over a half an hour. A half an hour of 8 dudes in there, a clusterfuck, chaos. And not in a good way. And it was all said and done, it was just Rollins stomping Kevin Owens a couple of times. We go off the air. That's what we waited 3 hours. That's what we watched a 3-hour show for. An 8-man tag and Rollins taking out Owens. The same thing we've been seeing for over 4 months now. And this is WrestleMania season. We're just a few weeks away from Mania. Are you feeling it? What do you mean that 8-man tag didn't really do it for you? Don't worry. Maybe next week 6-man and 8-man tag will do it for you. And some people go, oh, BC, you should be watching AEW, man. AEW is where it's at. Try watching AEW, BC. Clearly, these people don't watch the channel or only watch it for Raw reviews. But they're telling me to watch AEW. Because if they watch the channel, they understand I've been covering AEW from day one. I do AEW reviews. Better than anybody, I assure you. In fact, those same people, they might get their feelings hurt when they know or find out that I know AEW better than they do, because I've been following just about every one of those superstars before they went to AEW. Before AEW was a concept, I was following those superstars. It's always hilarious. You should watch AEW, BC. You might like it better than WWE. Shut up! I watch it. It is consistently good, but don't get it twisted. They're also playing around with way too many schmaz matches. I see a 6-man on that program every single week. In fact, Kenny Omega is talking about a trios championship possibly. He hinted to it a couple of times. That's all I need, is a whole division of 3-man groups. They can't even get tag team wrestling done right here in WWE. AEW has a little better grasp, but it needs to be toned much better. But tag team wrestling is even hard to pull off if not done correctly. Now we're talking about a trios division. Where does it end? Total 4-man faction group divisions? Every single week we have a 6-man and an 8-man tag on every single show? It's lack of care. It is lazy. So that's my opening monologue. I hear something like Hardy talking about him and Wyatt being shelved because they were too creative. When in reality, what we're really getting in the pro wrestling world more than ever these days is 6-mans and 8-mans galore. I want to put my dome piece through every cement wall here in New York City because it's fucking pathetic. WWE Raw from March 9th, 2020. The Little Widow, Becky Lynch, starts us off. No Elton John glasses, no Conor McGregor wardrobe. It's back to the all black, so that's a plus to see. Lynch says the time for playing around is over, and we see a video package of Baszler and what she did at Elimination Chamber. Becky then actually cuts a good promo, I will say, calling Baszler a black hole of charisma, and she remembers Baszler in NXT looking like a constipated robot. So this is good Becky, man. This is the Becky I wouldn't have mind seeing the whole year of 2019. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. She was overprotected to the point of nausea. She tried to tweak her character, and it just was tweaked in the wrong ways. WWE mishandled her, misbooked her, It was just a travesty. And the whole time they were trying to push her as the face of the company. Maybe she had a chance to be, but she was ruined from the jump. Once they saw that she had momentum, they ruined her. I think Becky got into her own mind as well and thought she had to tweak her character 7 different ways. It was just a travesty, man, and I saw it happening from day one. And again, it was never shade to Becky. I actually don't mind Becky Lynch. A lot of her fans thought I was throwing shade. I was telling you what I was seeing. Here we are in the early stages of 2020, and guess what? I was correct. You have some arenas that absolutely will yell out, Becky, Becky, but we're not stupid. We see the momentum. It's just not there. And when a Becky match starts, you really see that die down considerably. And you can't even just blame Becky. You know, there was a lot of factors. This Becky Lynch, I don't mind. You know, come out in the all black, though. You don't got to look like a lunatic that just raided Elton John's closet. Come out looking serious. Your whole gimmick is the man, the badass Becky Lynch, right? Be that. You don't got to be overly annoying, man. So she comes out and she cuts a good promo. We need the Becky Lynch that she used to be really good on Twitter. I don't know how she is now. I've been off social media for a while. I've been taking a pretty nice, beautiful break. I've been super busy with everything else. And not having social media to worry about is even better. So I've been off, but she used to be really good on social media. We need what she was on social media. We need those type of promos in the ring. So I really liked that last night. But that was it. No Baszler last night. Baszler just ended the Elimination Chamber in decisive, simplistic fashion, taking out every one of her competitors inside that chamber. The whole event of Elimination Chamber culminated with that finish with Baszler, and you didn't even have her on TV the next night. Becky Lynch is in the middle of the ring to kick off the Raw that sends us all into high gear for WrestleMania. This is the Raw to really get things going. 24 hours earlier, Baszler owned the night. Becky's in the middle of the ring. It's the start of Raw. We're really deep into WrestleMania season. You're expecting something explosive. And it's a Becky Lynch promo. No Baszler. And that gets everybody excited for Monday Night Raw. This is what I mean. What are you doing? Baszler did that 24 hours earlier, and she's not even on the show the next night. I can't even with this company. You can't make this shit up. Rey Mysterio versus Angel Garces, the first match of the night. It took every bit of willpower I had to put my focus off of Zelina Vega and onto this match, because Zelina Vega, every single week, I mean, literally, man, if I was just walking around New York and I was watching her on my phone, I'd be walking into every pillar and post that I come across. I'd be walking into traffic. Cars would be fucking hitting me. I'd just get up, wouldn't even take my eyes off the phone. Zelina Vega, straight banging over how gorgeous she truly is. But I'm glad I did take my focus off of her and onto the match, because this was actually a fun match between Mysterio and Garza. Something about these 4 superstars, Mysterio, Garza, Andrade, and Humberto. No matter the combination, the match is going to deliver. This one was no different. Mysterio hits the 619 and springboard splash for the W. Backstage, we see footage from earlier in the day when Kevin Owens arrived to the arena, and he was met by all 4 members of the Architects of Pain. And of course, they jump Owens. Actually, Owens knew he was going to get jumped, so Owens starts the fighting process first. But the numbers game was just too much. As they always are. We've seen this play out time and time again with these same characters. And that's what I mean about lack of creativity. What I do like, though, is Rollins had a thing of popcorn. So it was basically what Owens did to him at Elimination Chamber, and costing them their tag match with the Street Profits. Owens came down through the crowd with popcorn, threw it at Rollins, caused a distraction. Murphy gets pinned in the ring. So here we are 24 hours later, and now Rollins has a plan, right? Now we're going to get you, and I'm just going to chill with my popcorn. So it was kind of like an eye for an eye type scenario. I did like that. This Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins thing just isn't landing. And this whole Architects of Pain thing is just becoming so redundant. I had high hopes for them in that group. It's just bad. It's not going anywhere. The best part of Rollins and Owens was the very beginning. When Rollins was in the van, turned around, and evil Rollins was exposed, right? Heel Rollins became a real thing. The very beginning ended up being the very last interesting piece of the puzzle. Every other piece just doesn't fit, or it's the same piece, right? You got one of those defective boxes. It's got duplicate pieces. I'm seeing the same shit. Nothing is interesting. The beginning of the feud was hot and heavy. Everything after that, watered down and depressing. But they jumped Owens backstage. That wouldn't be the last you see of Rollins or Owens, unfortunately. Charlotte is out next, cutting a promo on Rhea Ripley. Rhea actually comes out. She goes to speak. Charlotte cuts her off. Rhea punches her. Charlotte laughs. Rhea walks away. How's that for a review? I'm not going to cookie cutter this for you. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That's what happened. If it sounds dumb, just imagine watching it. I felt bad for Rhea. I felt bad for Charlotte too, actually. I felt bad for everybody involved because the 614 Hollywood writers wrote that down for them. Let's do this. It'll be an intriguing 4 minutes for everybody. Let me say this again, this review of this. Ready? Charlotte cuts a promo on Rhea. Rhea comes out. She goes to talk. Charlotte cuts her off. Rhea punches Charlotte once, just like a little love tap, so much that Charlotte just goes on her ass, and she's like, I can't believe you did that. And then she just has a smirk on her face, smiling. Rhea walks away. That's all. I showed up all the way around the country to Washington, D.C., just to love tap you, and then we're going to smile at one another. Wow, WrestleMania. If that didn't get you excited to see Rhea and Charlotte, I don't know what's going to. I gotta love Hollywood writers writing a pro wrestling program. Oh, I'm sorry, a sports entertainment program. Hour number 1 finally comes to an end. Bobby Lashley squashing Zack Ryder. Okay, what else, BC, right? That's what you're thinking. Okay, Bobby Lashley squashed Zack Ryder, and then what happened to Bobby Lashley, BC? Oh, nothing. That was it. Ryder got squashed, and that ends hour number 1. I don't know what that's supposed to do for Lashley. I know what it's supposed to do for Zack Ryder. He can go back, get his fucking apple pie, and hit the road to the next town so he can collect his fucking paycheck. Zack Ryder is beyond an afterthought. There is no more. I mean, with Zack Ryder, you always thought, okay, he'll eventually get another push, his 600th push. He'll get his 700th push. He's done. He's done, man. I had to do a double take. I did something, and when I came back, it was the Lashley match. I had to do a double take to see if that was even Zack Ryder. I forgot about him. You guys remember it wasn't long ago, just a couple years ago, wasn't it? Zack Ryder, maybe it was a little more than a couple years, I forget, but Zack Ryder was at WrestleMania, I think it was like a ladder match or something. He was hoisting up the IC Championship. Even before that, there was a time where Zack Ryder actually had the crowd behind him. We were ready to push this dude to the moon. All that had to happen was the company had to push Zack Ryder. The company instead went the opposite way, shelved him. And then when he started to get the push again, when he won the IC strap, like a week later, or maybe it was the next night, something like that, he lost the IC title. And we were like, whoa, what? The dude was starting to get momentum again. It's so weird, man. I don't know. Zack Ryder could have been something. It's weird. If the old man in Stanford, if Vince McMahon does not like you, you ain't going nowhere in this business. Hour number 2 begins with Drew McIntyre defeating Eric Rowan. Perhaps even more noteworthy is the fact that McIntyre completely crushed the robotic spider that Rowan has in that cage. McIntyre put the cage down, took the steel steps, and absolutely smashed it to smithereens. And spoiler, sorry if I'm ruining this for people, but that's a robotic spider, obviously, so that's probably shattered into a million pieces. The concept of Drew McIntyre and Eric Rowan, I don't mind actually, and in recent months they've been building Rowan up. But after a couple of straight losses to Aleister Black, which I didn't feel was too damaging because it is Aleister Black. An immediate loss to Drew McIntyre after that. Now I'm starting to say, and again, Drew is like Alistair. It's usually a no harm, no foul situation. Because you're losing to Alistair. You're losing to McIntyre. These are pretty substantial names. But because it's back to back to back, now I'm starting to be concerned for Rowan. Dude's starting to look like a chump. And all of this reveal for this robotic spider, in a week later, it's being completely smashed. It's almost like Rowan was like, all right, this did not go over well with the crowd. Maybe we need to get rid of this. But that did not work. Kabuki Warriors were out next, and they went on an absolute insane 3-minute promo. They were crazy, and I loved it. Didn't understand 90% of what they were saying, and I loved it. They absolutely own those characters. They go all in with these just crazy heel characters that they want to portray. I know it annoys a lot of people, but good. They're doing their job. Asuka, you truly believe, is not all there. Kairi was on her game last night promo-wise, and Kairi's wrestling last night was better than it has been. We all know Kairi is a damn good wrestler. But for the past couple of months, she's been off. And I don't think that injury that was sustained, when was that, guys? They were in there with Charlotte and Becky Lynch. You guys remember that? She got her bell rung. Obviously a concussion. She was out for several weeks. She wasn't the same even when she came back. Last night we started to see that old Kairi. She was in her character. She was present in her wrestling. I really like that. So I love what I saw from Asuka and Kairi last night. They were in there with Natty and Liv Morgan. They come down to the ring and we have a tag match. I didn't think this was a bad match at all. But for some reason, Ruby Riott and Sarah Logan came down, 2 members of the former Riot Squad. And they came down individually, not even together. And then they just started fighting each other. I was like, what the fuck? What do you have? I could see if maybe they came down together and they were like maybe eyeing the tag titles, which I still wouldn't like that because they're supposed to be on their own now. Ruby Riott just came back. And that's like you're already admitting defeat. It's like you had nothing for them individually, so you're already putting back the Riot Squad. Or at least 2/3 of it. So even Logan and Riot I wouldn't like together right now. But at least that would make a little bit more sense. They came down on their own. And then just started fighting each other. But what are you out there for? Nobody has a singles championship. Just didn't make sense to me. Asuka ends up, I guess I'm just using common sense. BC, why do you keep doing that, man? Asuka ends up pinning Natty, and all I have to say is, I like that, obviously. Asuka and Kairi winning a match, there's a concept. But here's a crazy concept, and I beg this question. Can we please just find a legit badass tag team to go after the titles now? Is it too much to ask? Am I asking way too much if we collectively ask for a tag team championship match? I know that's a crazy concept, but maybe, just maybe, the tag titles can be defended at a date in the future. Maybe at WrestleMania, you could give Asuka and Kairi a formidable tag team title match. Can't remember the last time they've been defended. Or at least how often they've been defended in the last 4 months. They haven't. One or 2 times maybe? Tops? AJ Styles is out next. He's cutting a very personal promo on The Undertaker. Easily one of, if not AJ's best promo ever. And I know that's saying a lot. Those are some heavy words, BC. All of AJ Styles' career, you're saying that's one of his best? I am. In fact, it may have been his best promo. AJ Styles is not a promo guy. He's more known for his in-ring work, in his skill set, his talent. But promo's never his strong suit. That was an awesome promo. And again, very personal. He's calling Taker by his real name, Mark Calloway, which I really enjoyed. He brought up his wife, Michelle McCool. And he told facts as they are, which is Taker is a full decade past his prime. Which is what we were all thinking anyway. I've been saying it from day one when we knew it was going to be Styles and Taker at Mania. I've been asking the question, what is this really going to do? How does this complement AJ Styles? Undertaker at this phase in his career needs a 5-minute match tops. AJ Styles can still go 25, 30 minutes, especially on a big stage like WrestleMania. They don't complement one another. They just don't, not in that ring. I've said it several times in past videos. If you think we're going to get Undertaker Shawn Michaels from WrestleMania 25 with Styles and Taker, you're 11 years too late. Not going to happen. So I don't like this match. On paper, it might sound like, wow, two big names, Styles and Taker. But think about what they're really going to do in the ring, guys. This does not complement AJ Styles, and it's not what Undertaker needs. So I like the fact that Styles called that out. You're a full decade plus past your prime, dude. Now I know you're not some mythical creature anymore. You're just a broken human being, and I'm going to put you out the pasture. I'm going to put the final nail in the coffin at WrestleMania because Styles laid down the actual challenge, and next week on Raw, we're going to get the actual contract signing between Taker and Styles. I'm not sold on the actual match itself, guys. I just don't think they complement one another. They're going to have to get super creative. They're going to have to overbook this a little bit. We'll see what they actually produce. But very good performance on the stick last night by AJ Styles. Hour number 2 ends with Riddick Moss defending his 24/7 title in a scheduled match. Yep. Think about what I just said, guys. The 24/7 title was defended in a scheduled match. But doesn't that defeat the purpose of 24/7 if you're scheduling matches? Because, by the way, when the match is actually happening, the 24/7 title rules are suspended. They're nullified. So again, that defeats the purpose. So it's really 23 hours and 45 minutes /7 title. Right? Or if the match goes a half an hour, it's a 23.5/7 championship. Doesn't make sense. You're scheduling the 24/7 title matches now. But that defeats the purpose of what the title actually is. Oh, I can't even. Moss defeats Cedric Alexander, and it's funny to me that Moss is now getting the push that Mojo was supposed to get. You guys remember over a month ago, maybe a couple months ago, Mojo won the championship. I use that loosely. He won the 24/7 title, and he talked about how this was a new era, and he's going to make sure that that title is prestigious, and ain't nobody just going to simplistically roll him up. And then just a couple weeks later, he's being simplistically rolled up. He loses the championship, and we haven't heard from Mojo Rawley since. Riddick Moss came in, and he just took all that thunder. It was like McMahon said, all right, I changed my mind. Mojo sucks. Put in this Moss kid. Next week, he'll get tired of that new toy, and it'll be somebody else. Hour number 3 kicks off with the MVP middle of the ring, and he's offering his services to begin mentoring Edge. He wants to form a stable around Edge as the nucleus. Edge ends up. I can speak. I need another coffee. Edge ends up hitting the ring. First of all, we see him backstage. He pulls up in his whip. He gets out and he's just furious. You can tell he wants Orton's ass for what Orton did to his wife last week. So Edge hits the ring. MVP is like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Edge grabs the mic. He starts yelling out, Randy, grow a set and get your ass out here. MVP is like, whoa, that's always been your problem, Edge. You don't know where to focus. And he said, speaking of focus, how's your wife? And this just pissed Edge off. Edge turns around and he spears the shit out of MVP. This looked like a setup because Orton looked like he came from underneath the ring, or maybe he came from the crowd. But the second Edge speared MVP, Orton was in the ring about to attack Edge, but Edge hit the rated RKO on him. So Orton was down and out. Edge goes to grab a couple of chairs, but Orton sees this through his peripheral, and Orton is able to get out of the ring. At that point, MVP goes to jump Edge again, but Edge gets him in a nice clutch chokehold. Chokes MVP straight out. He still has the two chairs in the ring, so Edge sets up a concerto. to MVP, and he delivers. The crowd starts chanting one more time, and Edge gives it to him a second time as he looks out at Orton, who at this point is at the top of the ramp. And Orton is watching on vividly, and he's seething at the mouth. Orton is like, oh, you son of a bitch, I'm going to get you. He wanted that setup. When Edge attacked MVP, Orton wanted to RKO Edge yet again. But Edge was able to thwart it off. I like that, man. And Edge at the top of the ramp, and he was really selling it in his facial expression. Like, oh, I wanted you tonight, man. I wanted to get you. You know? I liked it, you know. Some people might say, oh, you know, Edge attacking Orton this early, right from the jump after coming back from that injury too soon. Well, he didn't really. Yes, I would have stayed away maybe from that RKO to Orton or taking Orton out, but I like what I saw between the two last night. I like that segment. I think that's a good setup. It shows you that Orton isn't done yet, and it also shows you how intensely furious Edge is to get to Orton. And I especially love this. These are the minor details that I catch that mean everything to the story. Edge didn't just stay into the ring once his music started blasting. Edge actually ran after Orton. This shows a real guy that if something happened to his wife, he's coming after you, right? If this is you, you're running after the sumbitch, right? You're not looking from the ring to the ramp. You're not like, oh, I'm going to get you one day, man. You RKO'd my wife. No. Edge is like, I'm coming at you. You ain't going to come here. I'm coming after you. And before we went to commercial, Edge started running after Orton right to the back. I love it. This is a man on a mission. This is a man who is intensely furious, and he wants Orton's ass. And Orton isn't done with Edge. You saw that in his facial expression, but Orton is more methodical. Orton's going to set up a plan. Orton's going to get you on his time, on his watch. I'm loving this Edge and Orton thing, man. I have from the jump, and last night was no different. Aleister Black versus Seth Rollins. Yeah, we think about that. Aleister Black, Seth Rollins, your main event. Man, and I saw almost 40 minutes left, and I was like, could you imagine if they gave us a 40-minute match? Could you imagine how fucking... I mean, that's a pay-per-view worthy match. I usually don't like seeing pay-per-view worthy matches on regular shows, but if you're going to give them 40 minutes, this could be one of the best main events we've ever seen. Just a couple of minutes later, though, the old man in Stamford made sure that he calmed BC down. Relax there, kid. We're giving you the 8-man tag instead. So, Buddy Murphy, AOP interfere in the one-on-one match. Viking Raiders, Street Profits come down and they make the save. And it's at this moment that I just an immense feeling of panic washed over me because I saw that there was 8 dudes out there and I knew what we were getting. Sure enough, we come back from commercial. We have an 8-man tag match. Right on cue. All 8 are put into this 8-man schmaz. These matches are so fucking stupid, and they solve nothing. They enhance no one, and it involves zero creativity. But we've documented that plenty in the course of this video. After a fucking half hour, can't make that up, a half an hour dedicated to this schmaz match, Rollins stomps forward, and Rollins picks up the victory. So there's your tag team champions, looking like the fucking doofuses that they've been from day one. Ford's getting pinned by a stomp. Wow! Definitely worth over a half-hour match. Definitely worth putting up with 3 hours of this fucking mundane show to watch that finish. Post-match, you ready for some more fun? Kevin Owens attacks Rollins for a second. Rollins gets the upper hand and stomps Owens. Not once, but twice. And we go off the air. 3 hours of Raw, and that's our ultimate payoff. I can't even with this company. 3 hours. The last 45 minutes is dedicated to setting up an 8-man schmaz match. And that's not lazy booking. That's not lazy to you. You're a billion-dollar company. You so-called self-professingly right? Self-professingly. Yeah, I think that's a word. Well, you self-profess that you have several geniuses in your company. You have 614 writers. And that's what you booked. Week after week, not just last night. No. I wouldn't be that upset if it was just once or twice here and there, once in a blue moon. Every single week, we get that type of booking. I'm the problem in the community? I'm too negative? I'm always pissed about something? I'm always criticizing too much in a negative way? Or, here's a concept. I ask, are they just horrible at what they do? Are they not putting any creativity into their shows? Is there no storyline and feud that's actually captivating us? Thank God Edge decided to come back. I don't know what I would be even doing without the Orton and Edge storyline. I mean, even matches at WrestleMania that seem okay, right? Bray Wyatt and John Cena, even though it's a rematch of WrestleMania a few years ago. Lesnar, Goldberg, Undertaker, Styles. I mean, these are all matches that have name value. So on paper, you're like, oh, that's good. But then you think about the actual matches playing out. You think about the story that is getting us to these matches. There's no care. That's why there's no interest, and that's why there's no excitement. I'm not just negative, guys. I'm just calling out all of the holes, the blunders, the mishandling of these shows, stories, and characters. And unfortunately, it's top to bottom that bad. That's bad and horrible on a normal week, but on WrestleMania season... And then you hear a story from Hardy about how him and Bray Wyatt were told to basically go home. Because we're sick of hearing about your creative thoughts. We know what we're doing. We'll give you 6 minutes, and we're going to put on 8-man schmaz matches. Because that's fun. But more importantly, it's easy for us to book. Don't be fooled, man. Vince McMahon, his only concern is the XFL. He recently had 2 of his highest executives leave the company. He has his own boardroom, some of his members suing him. Do you honestly think WWE is on his priority list? No. He doesn't give a shit about this company. He's depending on the sheep, though. The ones that'll show up to the arena and chant for everything he puts out there. He's hoping for them. But then there's the dudes like the Amplified Man. I'm not going to accept that BS. I'm not going to stand in line with my bowl, my wooden bowl, and say, please, sir, can I have some more? No. Not by a long shot. I'm the Amplified Man. Till next time, guys. AEW NXT's review Thursday morning. Until then, I will talk to you when I talk to you. Think, be, live, amplify.